And we're live. Hey, folks, thank you for joining Soaring Profits. As always, your host, Patrick and James, this evening. Lots to talk about in the crazy world that we're dealing with right now. Tonight, you can probably hear some of the birds in the background. And if you look, this side, if you you might see a little golden retriever run across there, and maybe he'll poop in the yard. We'll see how things go.
Could be good. I think it would add to our show.
Flair.
It would give us flair. Yeah.
Right. So we've had certainly some interesting stuff going on today in the world. Obviously, we got kind of what everyone's talking about from the business perspective of things is Elon Musk has apparently backed out, and I'm air quoting that, backed out of the deal with Twitter.
Kinda.
Yeah. So this is a $44 billion accounting error, if you will, where he's just like, nah, right? So the issue that arises with this comes basically from he doesn't feel that Twitter is of the same caliber a sharer holding material that originally it was priced in at. So when Elon first bought, this is kind of a quick recap for those of you that don't know, is that he offered a shareholder purchase buyout at $54.20. Now, the last three numbers of that goes to kind of Elon's memorable nature of what he's done with the meme world and all that sort of thing with the 420 variable on that. But Elon's no dummy, right? So what happens now is, and he made a tweet here this afternoon himself, was that he believed that Twitter itself was in fact a broken state. They were argumentative in regards to free speech issues. They were shadow banning, blocking content, all that sort of thing. And now what he's done is basically bleached the entire system of Twitter. Now, what they have to do is they're going to have to go to court. They're going to have to represent themselves and prove or disprove his claims that they are a majority stakeholder, or a vast majority of their clients are bots, right? So now they're going to sue him because that's what happens in these situations.
Which he knew would happen. Like, it's not like he didn't know it was going to happen. He knew exactly what would happen. It's all part of their contract. So, like, he kind of led them into it. Fine, if you don't want to show me what the information I need to see, then the courts will make you show it. And either way, the people will get to see it. That's his thought on it. Like, obviously, because his last tweet is him laughing several different times, and it's like 4 lines. One, like, I wanted to see what it was. They said no. So I backed out of the deal. Now they're taking me to court to make me buy it when they didn't want me to buy it. Right. And so now I'm going to get to buy it, and they have to tell me everything I want to know.
Right.
Because they're doing it.
And it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, it's brilliant. Like, he's no dummy. His lawyers have guided this process with him through from the stem to where we are now. And I think the outcome, we'll see what happens here. I think Elon probably, before it goes to court, comes out and says, listen, I'm willing to bail you out, but I'm going to buy it somewhere in the $30 range.
Right.
So long story short, let's take a quick gander.
Well, we're doing it this Thursday, very soon, 9 p.m. Shannon, correct?
This week is Sarah.
So
first-time home buyer.
First-time home buyer.
MBA candidate right now.
Right.
So we're going to have her on.
She's done a lot of talks, or one big talk.
Nope. So Sarah is a first-time home buyer.
Oh, my God. I got them all backwards.
Right. So she's going through what the market looks like right now, as well as, whether it's an appropriate time to buy and that sort of thing. So I've had a couple conversations in the last little while. We won't go into too many details because obviously it's something that we want to chat about. Yeah. But she, over the weekend, was very close to putting an offer on a place. I actually probably should touch base and find out how that was. And we're going to touch base about what that process has been, the number of places that she's been around and seen, as well as kind of living the, we call it, like the late millennial dream, right? What does that mean? Was it downtown? Now is kind of relocated a little bit, pulled out of the big city, and is watching her dollar spread a little farther in the real estate market. So we've been kind of watching what she's been doing, and hopefully we can, have some conversations about that.
Either way, a very interesting talk we have in store for 9 p.m. If you're interested, come on by.
So this is Tesla today, this area right here. Okay. So we have Tesla down. We have Tesla down more than that today. We have Tesla down. Dog.
Whose dog is that?
It's my dog.
My dog lying right beside me, not saying a word. I'm just saying. I'm just going to put it out there.
Hey.
This is my puppy. Not a sound. Also, the Keto Journey is out. If you want to go look, it's on our YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. Come check it out. If you're interested at all in learning about keto, you want to join me on that journey and lose weight. I'm still doing keto right now. It's brilliant. You'll love it, and it's changed my life.
So here we are at Twitter finally after the dog and all the other things.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you guys can hear now, but there's a dog down the road, and they're both like, one goes off, and the other one's got to tell the other one how tough they are. Like, if you can see, this is my dog. He's a big sissy.
There he is right there.
He's a big...
Gorgeous. He's gorgeous.
The big softy. But anyways, here we are getting back to what we were talking about with Mr. Elon. So basically where we are is this is the price point here where Elon decides to make an offer, $54.20. Sorry. $54.20. Call it right there, right?
Right.
That's a long way away from where that price action is down here, right?
Yeah.
So what we've seen over the last little while with the announcement is we've seen the stock fall apart. Well, there's a number of reasons why it's fallen apart, right? So there's competitors, there's Elon himself saying that he doesn't believe that Twitter is what it is. And if you're a social media platform, you have what's called daily active users. And if you're not into your daily active users, or you're fudging those, or the material behind that is problematic, you're in a lot of trouble, right? Mm. So where we get into this being really problematic is that Elon now has immense potential to be able to come in probably right in around here in the $35, $36 range and say, listen, I'm not buying at 54. I will buy at 36, however, and that seems to be where this stock has some power. He then gets to ride this back up over the next short little term, right, whether he takes it private or he continues it out on the main market. So that's an interesting thing. So Elon's got a lot going on this week. The next big thing is the gas pipelines from Germany to Russia.
Right.
So this is the Nord Stream pipeline that some people have been talking about of late. Excuse me. And this became really problematic today because this was the final day before the mandatory shutdowns for maintenance on these pipelines. The problem really becomes is that will these pipelines ever get back up and running? And right, this Nord Stream pipeline, do your own research on this, is the pipeline between Russia and Germany, okay? This was providing Germany with a ton of very, very low cost, efficient energy for the last 30 years, 40 years, right? So what we're looking at today is we have this maintenance shutdown beginning, okay? But with everything that's going on in Ukraine, the way that the world is kind of, everyone's against Russia right now, this is a major lever of power that Putin can use over the German and realistically the European nations, right? So why do I bring this up, and why do I bring this up with Elon? Well, Elon Musk just opened Giga Berlin, which is the newest, largest manufacturing hub for excuse me, Tesla automotive products around the world, right? We have Berlin, Giga Berlin, and Giga Texas. Well, if you don't have any hydro, if you don't have any power, if you don't have any energy for your plant, you're going to have a real problem. And this is where I go back to where we were today with Tesla, TSLA. Excuse me. I've been fighting a cold all weekend. So the TSLA, right? We see this massive pullback today. Well, you can't tell me that it's not problematic. They're trying to bring in this fuel emergency. Tesla has been very range bound throughout these areas here. And historically, the $700 range has held over time, right?
Right.
We're going to see over the next, I would say, month and a half, if Tesla is going to continue to channel down here, or, excuse me, that's better. I feel better there now. Or if it's going to end up down into that 300 and change range that I've predicted down here at 360.
Because their energy costs and factory building will have to increase because the fuel is not as readily available. That's what you're suggesting.
Well, I'm gonna say that the Shanghai gigafactory that they had opened,
right.
They were able to meander through a lot of the manufacturing shutdowns of Shanghai with COVID, right? The
right.
no COVID, the zero transmissibility of COVID in China because they were shutting people down, manufacturing. Tesla was able to absorb a lot of that.
Right.
They will not be able to absorb a shutdown in Berlin. They will not be able to absorb that. They have ramping numbers that require it to be on par, and it's not going to be good. So when you have a growth company like Tesla, if you're not growing, or if you're seeing stagflation in your growth,
right.
Stagnation, like stagflation is this really good thing right now where we talk a lot about this in the inflation and then no growth, right? But that's literally what the business will feel, rising input costs, as well as lack of growth within their market. It's going to get crushed. So Tesla's at a really vulnerable point right now. And I think you're going to be able to pick it up a lot cheaper than where you are right now at $700 a share in the next little while. So,
right.
Yeah. So the next thing, we're kind of like...
wait, there's more.
Right.
Yeah, a lot's happened.
Well, yeah. So we had Biden's son. His cell phone has been hacked and has released a number of very weird videos and very weird pictures, some of which are very compromising and show, illicit drug use and prostitutions and discussing all kinds of things. And I find it very odd that no one's talking about this. I find it very, very odd.
This is actually the first I've heard about it.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I haven't heard about it at all.
Yeah. So it's a little bit remarkable. There's videos of him weighing out what appears to be a white substance, looks like crack cocaine, and discussing which, a woman about the exact measurements of how much crack is on the scale.
Right.
There's some videos of him with prostitutes and smoking what appears to be like a crack pipe, and it's not a thing.
Yeah.
Very weird process, a very weird time. So
that happened to our mayor in town, and it was all over the news. It got so newsworthy that they were talking about it in other countries. I remember he went on some of the late night.
Yeah.
In the States, because it brought him such notoriety that not necessarily in a positive way or a negative way, but it brought him such notoriety that because everyone was talking about the fact that this guy was doing crack, and they had videos of him doing crack and him being high and all that. Like, so for another, not that Hunter Biden is really a political figure, but he is in the fact that he's the president's son. To not have heard about it, it's kind of shocking to me. Now, maybe it's not true. I don't know, because I haven't looked into it at all. So I don't know that it's true. I know that you are a smart young man, and you usually research more than just see the one thing, and you don't jump on it. You usually do your due diligence. So I have to trust that it is. But if it is, and it's not being said to anybody, that is pretty ridiculous.
Well, I think that no matter how official you could get on this, again, I do not have the phones that have been hacked in front of me. However, do you think that if it was one of the Trump children, that they would wait?
No.
Right? Like it just, and this is the problem where we are right now with our media and the way that the world is kind of functioning right now is that if you're on one side, you can't do anything right. If you're on the other side, we got you, we're going to protect you. It just feels like that, at least, right? So I know that there's a lot of people.
You know what? I think it happens on both sides. We just don't have a blanket media anymore. where the liberal news will only promote, or well, I say promote because that's what they do, will only promote one side of the story. The conservative news will only promote one side of the story. No one will show all of the story, and no one will show certain stories. And it's sad, because not only will it eventually kill the news industry, which it probably already has, but it also is misguiding people in such a way that they don't have the full story, and it's creating us to fight illogically. Because when you don't have a full story, you can't have a full conversation about anything, whether you're conservative, liberal, or in the middle. If you don't know the full story, you can't have a full conversation. And because our news no longer reports the full story, they always have an agenda. They always have a gotcha. Every news story is a gotcha now. There's never a news story where, you know what, today Pat's dog pooed on the lawn. It would be like, Pat's conservative dog pooed on the lawn. And I don't know what that means for you folks, but
okay, I can hear you. Keep going. I can hear you. Keep going. I got to do something. Hang on.
Yeah, for a conservative to allow his dog to poop on the lawn and not pick it up, that just goes to show you what kind of conservatives they are, or whatever the story is. It's just it's a shame that that's happening now. But anyway, getting back to Hunter Biden's phone, if it's real, I can't tell you either way because I haven't seen any of it. I don't know anything about it. But yeah, we should be hearing about it.
I think the issue. Told you I could hear you the whole time. Look at us.
Yeah.
I think the issue around the Hunter Biden stuff is that you've got Joe Biden at abysmal ratings right now. Like he's in like the mid to high 20s.
Yeah.
Right? Like worst ever. People are like, I didn't know this was what I was getting. So,
right. So I'm not sure that anyone. I can't work in these conditions. First,
don't ever work with
on their laptop. Now it's dog. I might have to get a new partner. If anyone would like to be the conservative side of this, you give me. No, I'm kidding. Pat's amazing. So I totally forgot what I was talking about. So you go ahead.
Sorry. Yeah. So I think my big piece is that kind of taking away from this is that there's so much broken right now with our system where we are in the world, is that we've got to try to figure out what is truthful, what is honest, and that sort of thing. And we have said for a very long time that you have to follow the money. And in these situations right now, everything that's going out of Russia, everything that's going out of the Ukraine, if you're not having, a conversation with yourself about what's truthful, what's honest, and where do we go from here, we've got some very scary things coming down the pipe. And our biggest conversations, and this goes exactly to what we were just talking about, is that I had a woman on Instagram here this afternoon. She shared a link, and it was about Ben Shapiro. Those of you who don't know who Ben Shapiro is, he's the only little Jewish Nazi that has ever been. He is super Jewish, super not a Nazi, but he has been pegged as this right-wing radical by these people. Long story short, there was this clip that is, you can tell, and as somebody who has, I've studied a lot of what Ben Shapiro thinks, his viewpoints. I don't agree with all of it. A lot of stuff I do agree with. And it was this spoof that someone was imitating his voice and going on about burning women at the stake and how we should go back to it. And she was writing posts about how the hell can you be a conservative to, like, this wasn't vague at me. Might have been, but it wasn't, I swear. Yeah, but it was this random post where it's like, how can these Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro people sleep at night? Like, God damn them, we have to take action. And I'm like, it's not real. It's a spoof. And you don't know the difference. Yeah. And it blew my mind. It's like these people, they don't educate themselves enough past their initial initiation of fuck them. And they don't get any farther past that. And they don't dive into anything regarding the actual fact behind it. They just get angry.
And I would say the same for both sides. Like, so you'll look at the stuff that conservative media puts out, because I like a informed opinion. So I watch both liberal and conservative medias. I watch liberal and conservative TikTok, whatever it is. And you will see the conservatives and the liberals, they both do it, but the conservatives, what they do is they go find the craziest, the most out there, the most leftist person that is obviously suffering from mental health. And that's the person.
Like all good liberals.
Not like all good liberals. There is a majority of liberals that could talk about the same topic in an intelligent way, but they never talk to those people. They only, and conservatives liberals are no better, because they go to the rallies and they'll go to that truck rally, and they'll search and search and search, and they find that one unintelligent guy that can be ding, 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 ding. And it's just divisive. If we went to the people that are in charge, if we went to the people that, even the people on the street that aren't, that do have a message, are hard workers, and we talked to them and we heard their message, then we all could agree with that message. I'm 100% sure if you talk to a liberal who's at a protest and a conservative who's at their protest, who is not, out there, they both could have a conversation and come to some sort of agreement. Both sides want similar things most times.
Right. I think a lot of it is
right. And we've lost that. We've lost the fact that the difference between conservatives and liberals is how they go about to get the same result. Mostly. There are sometimes that's not true. Absolutely, sometimes that's not true. On abortion, they differ. On some of the other things, they differ. But like when you think about homosexuality, for the majority of stuff that I've seen, there's not much difference between the conservative view and the liberal view. The conservative view is, go ahead, go do whatever the hell you want. You want to go do it, but I'm not making laws for it. The liberal view is that we're unsafe, and in some cases they are very right, and we need laws for it. But neither one wants to listen to each other. Right. The liberals are screaming that you're a homophobe. Well, in most cases, I don't think, you're not a homophobe, right? You're not, but you don't feel that laws should be created for surrounding homosexuality, right? But you're okay with
I think in that situation, right? So I think conservatism boils down to smaller government, liberalism, and that's what we're saying. But what we do is we end up breaking down on tribal lines. So when we have this tribalism, you can't get anything done. You're separated. You cannot come back because I'm not that. I am that. Yeah. Right? So when you self-identify, and this has been, I hate to say it, but it's a tale as old as time when it comes to political and geopolitical issues, is that you have to split and segregate people in order to divide and conquer. Right? And
but the funny thing is, sorry, I do mean to interrupt, but if you go back to other political leaders way back in the history, they came out with platforms of unity, of common good, of let's get this shovel and we'll dig together, and then
but there was always the other guy.
At some point, someone showed up and said, you know what, it's their fault that we're like this.
Yeah.
And that sold so many votes.
Well, but I would argue that throughout history, no matter how unifying a leader, there's always the other guy, right? So a really good example of that would be, say, like JFK. JFK was was a Democrat, but at the time was fairly fringe Democrat. He was a unifying body for the majority of the United States and was very well respected. However, there was an evil overlord that they were unifying against. And if you were Cuban or if you were Soviet, if you were all those things, you were the bad guy. You were the bad guy. And we have to conquer and defeat that.
But again, outside the country, this is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about now when they run for office, they split.
Had a bit of a slavery problem, but...
Yeah. Now when they run for office, they split the country. Back then, it was the outside. We got to be unified for the outside. In that case, Cuba, right? There was a slavery problem, and Kennedy was working on that. He really was, to some extent.
So slavery
ran on that.
Yeah. Slavery in and of itself was gone, but the civil rights issues and it's funny because some of the things that Kennedy had said were very pro, all of the civil rights movements, the amendments that we ended up doing with the Constitution for voting and that sort of thing. And then there was a lot of stuff that he wasn't. So Kennedy has been kind of championed as this Democrat pro-rights leader, whereas it would have been very interesting to see what he was kind of longer term. That's a whole other conversation that we should jump into.
Yeah, no, there's lots of theories about what his presidency would have been had he not been killed, and also the reason he was killed. There's a lot of reasons.
Well,
it's a whole other podcast.
Yeah, you messed around with the mob.
So what? Keep your eye on Tesla. The next couple of weeks.
I think our situation.
What are we talking?
This is
when
what
should I be ready to buy?
Well, so this is what I'm concerned about. So we had this conversation a little while ago about that we've been fighting off inflation. We've been figuring out what the next moves are in the market, right? Sorry, I'm just adjusting this a little bit. So where we are is this week on Wednesday, Jerome Powell is going to be announcing what the federal inflation numbers look like. So we were 8.6% year over year inflation last month. That is expected to rise again. So that basically is going to signal to the Federal Reserve Bank that we need to increase the federal overnight rates, likely to a minimum of 0.75 or 75 basis points, but likely above that. So what we're looking at now is that does he next month come out and go, we're going to hit this with a hammer? Because we've talked about this before. If you've only got nails, right? If you've only got hammers, everything's a nail. So does he come out and do a 1% increase? Okay. The stock market over the last few days, we've been able to have some leveling out. A lot of people thought that we were hitting the bottom of this market. And this bottom of the market was allowing for buying opportunities to run up slightly. He's such a tough guy. Hey, come here. Right. So as we were hitting these bottoms, they were buying opportunities because a lot of people thought, okay, we've got inflation pegged in. We've got a lot of the issues that are around us, around supply chains that are being sorted, right? As the manufacturer, hey, come here. Come here.
I love this real time. This is how you guys know it's live.
My next door neighbor has a Shih Tzu, and it's like this big.
Yeah.
And look at him, just prancing around. Like,
I'm the man.
Tough guy.
Well, I do remember my little dog kicking his ass, though. I'm just saying. I'm going to put it out there.
Wow. I've seen your dog. Just sat at the front door and cried all day. Went waiting to go home.
Yeah.
Had him out for a nice day. But anyways, long story short, what we have right now is we have a pivot from inflation to now recession.
Right.
So when you hit this recessionary period where people are like, hey, we don't have any growth, we realize that the Fed is going to start coming off their foot on people's throats. They're going to stop increasing the federal funds rate, i.e. interest rates, and or they're going to have to start lowering them again. The issue arises is that are we going to go through an immediate earnings recession? Because we're going to start earnings for quarter 2 coming up very shortly. Are we going to end up in a situation where this becomes an immediate earnings recession, or is it going to trickle and trickle and trickle? Companies like Walmart, companies like Target in the States, these retailers, they were telling us 2 months ago that they were overstocked. They didn't have any room for their stuff. We've talked a few times about this. They had too much stock. People were slowing down with their purchasing, and they were incentivizing people not returning goods once they had purchased them. Right? These are a lot of indicators.
Yeah.
So as we go into earnings this next month, we've got to ask, is this going to be an earnings recession? Because if it is, you've got the Fed running rates, and you're going to have an earnings recession. That's a perfect storm for stagflation. Stagflation ends up coming into the situation, killing any growth companies, and ends up dragging this process of being going way farther down than we've ever even thought of. So there's a lot on the plate right now. And this is where I go to Tesla and I go, you got energy problems, you've got recessionary problems, you got rates problems. There's a lot coming down your pipe. And a lot of the people that own Tesla are retail investors, right?
Right.
These are the people that once they hit that capitulation phase, that's a really important term we're going to hit here soon. Yeah. Once we hit that capitulation phase, retail is going to run for the hills because they're going to go, I'll get 5% out of my money as opposed to losing everything.
Right.
You get what I mean?
Yeah. They'll start pulling out their money out of stocks and because they can use it to better things.
feed themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and so here's where we talked about oil. So oil's done something I did not expect and really has surprised everybody except one man.
Which man is that?
Hang on a second. Siri. Okay, so this is U.S. oil. Remember we had this conversation a while ago about what U.S. oil was likely going to be doing? Oh, what did we do here? I don't know what happened. Can you guys see it?
I can see it. You just don't see us. That's okay.
There. Okay, that looks better. Okay, so what we were worried about is hitting back up to this 130, call it a barrel pricing, okay?
Right.
So we've all but done that. There we go. We've all but done that, right? Over the last little while here, we ran back up into this high, what did we get up to? High 123, right? I had said we're probably going to get back into the 130 range. We hit 120, 123, okay?
Right.
And then we've sold off. This is the last 2 days here. Okay, this drop off, consolidation, a drop off again. What we're doing, oh my goodness, why do I keep stepping out of this?
A little sideways.
Sorry?
A little sideways.
It's very sideways, but these big drops have been commodity prices, okay? What are commodities? Commodities are business inputs, okay? So when you have a business input, when you have commodities, things like we've talked about before about like copper, right? Oil, electricity, these all have to happen so that you can manufacture your widget, your little thingamabobber, your bullshit, whatever you're making, right?
Yeah.
As those come down, right? Think of the input costs, copper coming down, it's crashed, oil, energy coming down. What this does is this is a precursor to what's coming next, which is we're not going to have any widgets because we're not making any widgets, right? Because they're preparing for these recessionary trends.
Right.
So
they're slowing down production because they know people aren't going to be able to buy their vehicles or their toys or their games. And so now instead of producing 30, they're producing 10, which also means that they're using less energy. They're buying less copper, they're buying less whatever. So it's affecting everything, but you're seeing it now first in the commodities because commodities you feel it first.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So if you're building houses, you saw lumber prices spike, right? Why? Because you had no home availability. The consumer was willing to build it anyways. I need a house where to live during COVID, right? Now all of a sudden, lumber has dropped exponentially, and now the housing market is in line as well. Right, they are the precursor. So again, we here have been calling for a recession for a long time. However, this now ends up more or less putting a nail in the coffin for the recession. But as we go through this, we're going to end up in a situation where we end up inflationary. Then you have what's at this top point. Everything ends up deflationary. Okay, because it can't be supported any longer.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if you go out and you have a $300,000 compact car and you're making $1 million a week, right? Do you get what I mean?
Yep.
Like at some point people go, okay, this is crazy. We got to figure something else out.
Yes.
And this ends up being my cause for concern is that what happens when we figure out what we're going to do next? It changes everything.
Yeah.
Because it kills the old system. And that's what we're watching right now with the American dollar. That is, for the first time, I think in like 50 years, it is worth more or on par today. I think it crossed parity with the pound. It's not how that works.
Not usually.
Not supposed to be that way, but we're there. So if you are a British Commonwealth citizen and you're purchasing in pounds, sterling, right? All of a sudden you end up in a situation where your dollar has to spread that much farther. Well, You can't do that. How about if you're buying in rupees or in yen or in, it's not going to be a thing.
Or Canadian dollars.
Or Canadian, right?
Or pesos, like pesos drop right off, right?
Right. So what happens now is we get a situation where these offshore nations are looking for stability, right? Turkey's inflation, we're crazy about our 8.6%. Turkey's inflation is 82%. 82%. Wow. That's not sustainable. That will die, right? Yeah. So what do they go do? Are they going to be a Bitcoin nation like Ecuador? No. But does something come along and fix that? Eventually it has to, right? So we're getting into that like 35 plus minutes. I know we're trying to keep this a little bit shorter, but the state of the world is a little bit worrisome. Yeah. I worry about the German-Russia energy crisis. If they can end up getting those oil refineries, the oil pumping back into Europe from Russia, I think you're going to see a cooling of heads, and it could be very well the last negotiating straw that Russia has. We'll see, right? So, but anyways.
Well, that's for Soaring Profits. The day's events recapped as the Pat. I hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, share, comment. Maybe you have a particular idea on one of the many, many topics. Or maybe you just like doggies. Look how cute he is.
He looks so nervous.
I'd be nervous too if you held me like that.
I'm not supposed to tell people that I do that?
No, I don't like it. I really don't like it when you lift me above your head. That whole dirty dancing moment that you do.
That was it. Just in the water.
Save it for other people. Anyway, like, subscribe, share, hit that bell. We're on YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Instagram, you name it, we're on it, because we want to get the message out. Our goal is to help as many people as we can heal their minds, bodies, and souls. And
let's make some money together, folks. As always, thank you for joining us. Again, do all the things that he just told you to do. Like why not? Like, why wouldn't you?
What's it gonna hurt?
Just do it.